broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Houston, Texas. It's time for Houston Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Hello, Houston. Trisha Stetzel here, bringing you another episode of Houston Business Radio Beyond the Uniform series. It is my pleasure to introduce you to my guest today, Adam Stark, a special operations veteran, entrepreneur, author, and founder of JET.Build, a technology platform helping construction teams bring greater clarity and collaboration to complex projects. Adam is also the host of the Veterans Who Build show, where he shares the stories of military veterans who have successfully transitioned into careers across construction, real estate, engineering, and the build environment. Through his work, Adam is helping veterans recognize the incredible value they bring beyond the military service while building stronger leaders, healthier teams, and thriving communities. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Trisha. It's always funny to hear my bio from someone else, but I do really appreciate that great introduction. Thank you.
Absolutely, no problem. I pride myself on giving you something that you wouldn't normally give to yourself. So that's my gift to you.
Thank you.
All right, Adam, tell us a little bit more about who you are.
Yeah, so as you outlined, coming from military service and starting my civilian career in the built environment, so working for builders, I kind of recognized in that transition, in hindsight after a few years, a few things. One was how difficult it was and is, generally speaking. I think most, if not all, veterans can relate, transitioning military to a civilian life. Then second was kind of finding a new purpose in civilian life. So that journey and hearing other veterans talk about their journeys led to everything that you had just mentioned, which is building my business, which is JET.Build, technology platform helping builders, generally speaking. And then second was that passion project that I have going, which is the Veterans Who Build show. And happy to kind of dive into whichever angle you'd like me to dive into first. But that's kind of like a broad overview in terms of how I got to both initiatives and what they are, broadly speaking.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I can't wait to take a deeper dive into both of those areas. First, I'm curious because I'm guessing that a lot of people who are listening today don't immediately think about construction, engineering, or even real estate as a career for those coming out of the military. Why is the built environment such a great fit for veterans?
Yeah, so for whatever it's worth, I didn't upfront think of that as an avenue either. It simply just happened, networking with people, looking for what I would do next, and things fell into place. And again, this is all kind of a hindsight realization where, especially in construction, so if you're on a development, architect, engineering, construction itself, of course, trades. So basically working on job sites, working on projects, hence the built world, built environment. If you're involved in that, the reason that I see, and all of the guests that I interview on my show, connectivity from service to civilian workforce, which is built environment, is a few things. One is it's literal manual labor. I mean, you're literally physically on job sites, walking around, doing things, swinging hammers. If you're in that capacity, you're dealing with a lot of different teams from a lot of different companies. Also, in person on the job site, there's a lot of chaos that occurs naturally because, again, these are different companies. They have different, perspective, roles, purpose on the job. So you have to really be able to coordinate what ends up being an intense environment, schedule, intensive. A lot of money's on the line. People have a lot of emotions involved, of course, and those are the kind of areas that we see translating into the built environment in a very direct way. And especially, we had some guests who were CBs prior, who did something in an engineering capacity. I mean, those are literal translations into the built environment.
Yeah, they're the only ones. I'm just saying.
Right.
Yeah, CBs are definitely in the construction business.
Right.
Tell me more about your transition. So special ops to entrepreneurship. What was that transition like for you?
Yeah, so I really find that being one-to-one, and generally speaking, a lot of the translatable skills that I refer to, as it relates to built environment or entrepreneurship as well, is all these soft skills. versus it being a hard skill. I guess that's pretty obvious, but it's really the soft skills that don't necessarily come to people's minds. Service members, veterans, employers, as it relates to bringing what you learned in a military environment into your roles today. So, in particular for entrepreneurship, I mean, it's almost all entirely grit. I mean, if you're gonna quit easily, then it's not the place for you. If you're gonna get upset and knocked down real quick and easy, it's not the place for you. I mean, it's almost the expectation of failure, the expectation to have, plan B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., and then continuing to iterate. So, I mean, and for me at least, a significant, meaningful takeaway from special operations is the understanding and ability to adapt, adjust, and continue to move forward accordingly with what you have, making decisions, living with those decisions, and again, just continuing to adapt as things evolve. So that's really kind of like the core element, soft skill that I bring to civilian life.
Yeah. For those who are listening today that are maybe even thinking about hiring a veteran, what would you say to them?
I think the key element, and I'm also saying this from listening to tons of veterans, specifically in this angle, again, on my show, the Veterans Who Build show. The key element, I think, is to provide that veteran with a set of goals or a set of criteria, a set of KPIs, key performance indicators, that they can understand, digest, and then work toward as it relates to progression in whatever it is that they're doing. The reason I say that in particular is if you look at military structure, it's set so that you have a means and methods toward progression. So if you join a civilian workforce, a civilian role, and it's just like a blanket, clock in and out, and here's what you're doing per day, and there's no sense of higher purpose or sense of growth or sense of progression, that's where it's very easy for a veteran in particular to get lost. And I mean, quite frankly, I think that's just good advice for any employer or manager.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. That right there is a great nugget. Thank you for sharing that. I've never heard it spoken quite
Mhm.
that way, and that's really going to sit with me. Thank you for that. I want to dive a little deeper into JET.Build. I want you to tell me more about what you're doing in your business in the way of communication, visibility, decision making. Tell us what you're doing there.
Yeah. So at its core, nothing is supposed to be revolutionary or change how people are used to working. The idea and concept is to essentially provide builders, whether you're a real estate developer, whether you're a general contractor, a trade, a design build firm, it's to provide you with a holistic solution, project controls that will just help simplify what you're doing day to day. All of industry standards, whether that be from a financial perspective, project planning, setting up your budget, setting up your pay apps, how you're running that process, whether it be hosting your drawings, allowing teams to collaborate in one place, whether it be construction operations, so your RFIs, your submittals, your schedules, your specs, and then wrapping that all together to be a unified operating layer. And what I mean by that is a lot of these teams have pointed solutions. Some of them have legacy solutions, which are really expensive and don't give good support. So our goal is to give you a modern tech stack, so simplify what you're doing, which is the first thing I said. Second is to reduce your overhead, so we're very cost effective because modern technology allows us to be. Three is to provide you human support, so you have a dedicated account manager. And then last but not least, in indexing all of this information across all the stakeholders, JET operates as your essentially AI powered operating layer. So all of this data gets ingested, and then you can speak to it to provide you with information according to your projects and portfolio that's hosted on JET. And why I say that specifically as it relates to AI, there's no guesswork. It's not going to the internet. It's not going to Google. It's just pulling from your project data that's hosted in JET. So therefore, it'll be real and usable.
Wow. All right. So I get that construction, real estate, engineering are great clients for you. Is there a particular size or a particular like deeper dive industry in each of those that JET works better for?
Yeah, so we work across every vertical. Though to answer your question, it's anything that's commercial grade. So if you're doing like a single family home or you're remodeling an area of a specific building, like that, we're probably not for you, just given the kind of breadth of our solution. So long as you're doing ground up, or if you're building a lot, so you could be doing a dozen homes, for example, if you're remodeling apartments in an entire high-rise building, for example. So long as there's scale, which is what I mean by commercial. And then in terms of like vertical or specifics of industry, I mean, we're doing everything from data centers to hospitals to schools to apartment buildings. So again, it's just scale is really the key kind of ICP, ideal customer profile.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. If folks are interested in getting to know more, learning more about Jet.Build or connecting with you, where's
Mhm.
the best place to do that?
So I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can find me there, right? Search Adam Stark. There'll probably be more than one. So search JET.Build, Adam Stark, however the algorithm will bring you to me. Though you'll see, of course, I'm connected with JET.Build as well as the Veterans Who Build show. That's how you know it's me. And then secondly, to learn more about Jet directly, our website has tons of good information, jet.build. So it's not .com. The .build is the domain. So easy to remember once you understand that. So jet.build.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, let's talk about your show. I'm really
Mhm.
excited about this topic, and I know you are too. So, the Veterans Who Build show, where did it come from? How did it get started?
Yeah, so basically what happened was like going back to that kind of origin or overview that I gave of myself is at some point relatively recently, I would say like about 5 years ago maximum, I kind of realized that after listening to other veterans through other mediums, i.e. other podcasts, YouTube, whatever it is, in person, I was realizing that listening to their stories and what they went through, whether it be transition period, right, military to civilian life, whether it be what they're doing today in terms of, civilian careers, if it was they built a business, how they, dealt with whatever hardships they had, and just their stories in general. I realized over time I was kind of, piecing together things that related to me and my story, and then realizing how helpful it was to have a relatable person going through similar stories and things and elements in life. And that was kind of my aha moment, which was to say, okay, hearing other veterans talk about their stories, plus let me tie in particular the industry that I'm in, because I believe it to be a great new purpose for service members or veterans as they are in the civilian workforce. And that was kind of my aha moment. Like, okay, I love talking to veterans. The majority of my friends are veterans, if not all of them, essentially at this point. Um, Career is life, right? That's all I do is jet build and be in this industry. So why don't I piece the two together, have fun with it, and basically, over time, I started the show about, I think it was 2.5 years ago at this point, or maybe 2 years ago, something like that. We've grown to 1 million or over 1 million at this point views on YouTube, 2 million views across all of our social channels, and really just the feedback that I get from veterans that I interview is what helps me continue, interviewing and pushing out content, because they're all super appreciative, which makes me very appreciative of hosting them and sharing their stories.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I know it's not just veterans that are listening or watching your show on YouTube. You've got 1 million views out there. What is it that your show is giving back to the community? What are they finding in the shows that you're doing?
Yeah, so the purpose and the arch of the show is as follows. I mean, first and foremost, it's to honor stories of veterans, so honor life stories. So the way we run the show is childhood to where they're at today. So beyond anything else, my goal with that up front is to just here's a content, here is your life story you can share with your family, essentially. That's like first and foremost. Now beyond that, to like really answer your question in particular, in that life story, what we identify is one, the story of transitioning from military to civilian life and hindsight advice. Two is the story of using and translating skills military to built environment, and hindsight advice. So in that kind of package, I'll call it, it allows for service members, veterans, employers in the industry to hear and understand. Oh, okay, that sounds cool. That sounds neat. That sounds like it's a fit for me. That sounds like I want to do it. Employers, it'll be, oh, now I understand soft skills, which are, objectively harder to train, find, teach, etc. Well, why don't I just pull from this huge demographic of people who already have all of these embedded soft skills, and I could always teach and train the hard skills in a short manner. So the goal is twofold. One is for kind of what I mentioned earlier, was service members and veterans to potentially help them find new purpose in civilian life. And then two is for employers to hear how veterans are, building our built environment, and therefore seek service members and veterans for, their workforce, which I'll add as a final kind of kicker here. Anyone in the industry will know this is there is a massive, massive workforce issue, gap, whatever word you want to use there, need in construction, in the trades, and it's only growing. Especially with the retiring workforce. And therefore, it's like this compounding issue where workforce is needed, a lot of workforce is retiring, and you just have this massive necessity for hiring. So back to the Veterans Who Build show, I hope that will serve also as like a plug-in to close some of that gap.
Wow, that's very interesting. I because I'm not in that space, I didn't realize that there was such a big gap, and it sounds like it's a kind of a generational gap where
Yeah.
the older generation who was typically doing this work or leading this work at some point is retiring, and we're not seeing as many people coming in to the trades.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You said something that stuck with me when I first asked you about what's the purpose, or you gave the purpose of the show, and you talked about being able to record their story. And you and I even talked about this before in our first conversation about creating community through storytelling. Why do you think hearing another veteran's story can be so powerful for someone who's preparing to leave the military or reinvent themselves afterward?
I think it completely, and again, this is my take. People could disagree or do whatever you want with it. Just my take is it completely is the relatability factor. Meaning if, somebody, I'm not a doctor. If somebody who's a doctor talks about their experience becoming a doctor, I can't relate. I have nothing to do with, medicine. So I think that relatability element really allows people to embrace what they're hearing, even if it's just in pieces, because they're typically, again, against the breadth of, service or veterans who have a varying of service types. So, there's always going to be someone who you could relate to more, right? Navy, Marines, Air Force, whatever it is, Army. So you can always find someone who you think you had a similar background to with whatever it may be, and then kind of pull that relatability from their story and apply it to yourself. That's at least how I came to the realization, just again through my own experience in that capacity.
Yeah, I think I believe the same thing. So I think you're right. I think that we're looking for that Me Too moment, or gosh, I'm not alone moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can relate to you, not just the service, but you prior to service, the way you grew up and what your backstory is, I think is so important.
Exactly.
I love that you're capturing these stories, and so many service members before us who have now left this planet as it is today didn't tell their story, and we've lost so much history because it's not there. So thank you for creating this capsule to capture the stories of these service members. Another thing from our prior conversation is that you always ask your guests about their wellness practice. Why is that such an important part of leadership? Why do you ask about that?
Yeah, so another one of these, just coming from my own experience, scenarios where it led me to being intrigued by how other people perceive and practice wellness, generally speaking. So I had the typical finish in service with a bunch of just bodily ailments and injuries and such. And what I realize is if I'm injured, it's very hard to focus on anything else. It's very hard to achieve, to strive toward. You're just in a bad mental state, generally speaking. So I, made my own mission, I'll call it, to ensure that I understand how to just treat my own body and mental state in order to therefore be an entrepreneur, for example. So that's the background behind the why, and then hearing how other people, again, just embed wellness, whatever that means for them, into their crazy life in terms of just time, right? How do you allocate time toward it? I just find it to be interesting and good relatability insight for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you told your story, Adam?
Yeah, so I've been I'm frequent on podcasts.
Okay.
What's really funny about that question though is I'm like terrible at it. I mean, like this is I don't like to, and that's what's really funny is I realize like the hypocrisy in that, but I also realize that that's not great. So meaning it's it's good to be able to talk about your experience, and it's good to in a what's the right word there? But it's healthy too, and it's very helpful, especially if it's if you're going through hardships for one reason or another. So I do recognize the hypocrisy in that dynamic. I've recently gotten a bit better, but I more appreciate or like a conversation type dynamic versus a telling dynamic.
Yeah. I agree with you there as well. It's hard to be on the other side of the microphone or the other side
Yeah.
of the screen telling your story, right? But I appreciate you answering that. And I don't see anything wrong with feeling that way. I love that you're able to have people on who can tell their stories. And
Yeah.
when you're in a position and you're comfortable, then you tell parts of your story, and maybe someday someone will host you on your own show. I'm just saying.
Right, exactly.
Maybe someday. Another big topic, and this is one that really hit home for me when you and I had our initial conversation, is that you had mentioned you wanted to highlight more female veterans working in construction and the
Yeah.
built environment. Why? One, I'm curious about that. And two, why is that representation important, and what opportunities do you see for women in those industries?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, there's like no women in the built environment in general. I mean, if you like, you could obviously break this out into specific categories. So, like construction for one. I mean, like just very few. And then again, you just go to these other categories. Like maybe there's more in architecture. Anyways, through my experience, and it's just like general, like understanding, you just don't come across women very frequently. In terms of military representation. I don't know what it is or isn't. All I know is that I am trying to find women to provide variety in our
Yeah.
storytelling. That said, I think for women in particular, one it's hard. It could be a hard industry to get involved in because it is so male dominated. So it's almost like fraternal in that sense.
Mhm.
Though I think it's very fun in that sense, meaning the guys per se will appreciate the fact that there is actually women involved in whatever process that exists in this industry.
Okay, so all the women veterans out there who are listening today that are in the construction and built environment, you got to reach out to Adam so you can get on a
Yeah,
show. I'm just saying.
please, please, I'm trying.
I think that's fantastic. So, Adam, are you looking for, I mean, outside of my joke, are you looking for guests for your show?
Oh yeah, I'm always open. The criteria is very easy. It's did you serve? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Next question. Are you in the built environment? And what I keep saying is it's generally loose in the sense that again construction, real estate, architecture, engineering. So it is pretty technology in the space. So it is pretty broad. So those are really the two criteria. And obviously you want to share your story. That's a given. So that's really just the criteria. Only that.
Okay, awesome. So Adam Stark is on LinkedIn. You need to look for JET.Build so you can find the right Adam Stark. He's looking for guests for his show. And the
Excellent.
criteria is not that hard. Looking ahead, Adam, what excites you the most about the future of both JET.Build and the Veterans Who Build show, and the impact you hope you'll have on the veteran community?
Yeah. So with Jet, AI is the answer. So what AI has allowed us to do is essentially increase our output. When I say output, we're a technology company, so that's like computer engineering, right? So it's like code to improve and enhance our product. So the advancement of technology, advancement of AI has allowed our engineering team to do 100x, and it's absolutely incredible. It's mind-boggling. It's not something you could have understood by any means like 3 years ago, maybe even only 2 years ago, and it only continues to get better. So that's really exciting for us. Um, so that's on the Jet side. On the Veterans Who Build side, um, there have been a few national builders who have uh, begun initiating interest in sponsoring the show. And why I'm excited about that is a few things. One is the goal is twofold. One, of course, it's to therefore, use that capital, inject it in the show, and grow accordingly in terms of reach, ability to interview more people, so on and so forth. But on a more, I'll call it a better answer to directly answer your question, what the sponsorship will provide is connectivity with these national firms that have, I say national on purpose because they have presence across the country, to start building programs for them to recruit, hire, and retain veteran workforces. So that's the true goal of the show, is connecting with these national firms, leverage the knowledge base that we're building to therefore create programming around recruit, hire, and retaining veteran workforces, and hopefully plug in some of that workforce gap that exists.
Wow. That's amazing. I can't wait to see the future of both of these things, your business, Jet.Build, as well as the Veterans Who Build show. Where can listeners find the show?
Oh yeah, we're on all platforms. Full episodes release on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And then shorts will be everywhere. So, Facebook, Instagram, recently TikTok, X. I mean, really just all the social platforms, is you'll be able to find shorts, which gives you, a nice kind of like understanding taste to see what story you want to listen to, and then maybe dive into the full episode. But you'll find us, the Veterans Who Build show, on any of those socials.
Wow. Thank you for all of the amazing work that you're doing. Gosh, did you know that it was going to be this big when you first started?
Well, I hope to have 1 million subscribers versus the million views. But no, I didn't have any expectations because, again, the core mission was just having conversations that I like to have anyways. And the fact that it's grown to something is really energizing. So that's really pushing me to just continue. So it's really exciting. It's a really nice feeling.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, you guys, you need to go subscribe, not just go view.
Please. Please, yes,
the
that
important
helps.
piece right here. All right, as we wrap up our conversation today, I have one last question for you. If a veteran who's listening today is wondering what comes next after military service, what piece of advice would you leave them with?
It is so easy. Go on LinkedIn. Choose, if you want focus, which I recommend, focus on an industry, a company type, something that will give you kind of a filter per se. Go on LinkedIn, search within that focus, within that filter for companies you like, find people within those companies, potentially veterans in those companies. Really easy to do, right? It's all just searching on LinkedIn. Connect with them and ask them to have a conversation with you, right? Start networking, start picking their brains, start understanding how you can get involved in that company, how you can get hired, how you can advance your career, how you can find your new purpose. I am positive they will be willing to have a conversation with you, and you never know where that will take you.
Oh my God. This is not the first time that I've heard that. Start networking before you get out. Start networking before you get out. I don't think the internet existed when I got out. I'm just saying. We barely had a computer in our house.
It's an amazing opportunity. It's the way you do it from your phone. You don't need to, you do it anywhere from your phone. It's very, very easy.
It is. Absolutely. Gosh, Adam, this has been so fantastic. All the nuggets. I'm so excited to see where Jet.Build goes. I can't wait to hear the next series or episode that you have for the Veterans Who Build show. And I've really enjoyed our time together today. Thank you for being here with me.
Likewise. Thanks so much for having me on, Trisha.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, that's all the time we have for today. If you found value in this conversation that Adam and I had, please share it with a fellow entrepreneur, veteran, or Houston Leader Ready to Grow. Be sure to follow, rate, and review the show. It helps us reach more bold business minds just like yours. And your business, your leadership, and your legacy are built one intentional step at a time. So stay inspired, stay focused, and keep building the business and the life you deserve.